Good morning, and again, thanks for tuning in to Heartland Outdoor Living. This morning we're going to be doing part 3 of how to get started in traditional archery. Cheap, easy, and affordable way to do it, and this is going to be tools you may want to pick up. So let's get to the video. Good morning, and again, thanks for tuning in to Heartland Outdoor Living. One of the first tools that you're going to want is the Three Rivers archery chart, and I'll post a link down below where you can print this off. You can actually order your arrows from Three Rivers, and or if you have a local archery shop, I'd suggest going by there. But Three Rivers Archery Supply has always been fast, courteous, and no, they're not a sponsor. I just enjoy their products, and their customer service is actually great. So that's going to be tool number 1. That's going to help you pick out your arrows that you're going to need. It's going to be what you're going to use to help you pick out the arrows for your recurve bows. So it also has a deal on there for long bows, but we're not, it's a whole nother archery chart. So that'll be another video when we get a longbow down the road. But again, this is just going to be some tools that you'll probably want to get, and not all of them are necessary, but I would suggest if you have the time or money, just add them to your cart as you can afford to get them. But the number one thing you're going to need right after you get your arrows, again, we kind of went over the Dremel tool and how I used it on last week's to cut down the arrows, and you're going to need some glue of sorts to glue the inserts in. And what an insert is basically, this is an insert right here. And I'll turn this little camera on so we can get a close-up of it. So basically the insert is this deal right here, and you can see it's got a little bit of glue on the edge down here because these have been glued in once. But once you get your arrow shaft cut, you're going to glue this in there, and it will go in nice and easy. Without glue on it, it'll go on easier, but this one's actually pulled out from a target yesterday. But you'll use the glue, and you've got a couple different options, guys. This is kind of a hot melt, and it's made by Boning, and it's basically a hot glue. You use your lighter, heat it up, get it hot, get it on your deal, your insert, and then shove it in while it's still smoking hot. The one tip I will give you if you're going to do that, put a field point on here and hold it with a pair of pliers. That way you're not burning your fingers because it'll get hot. So that's your free tip for the day. Next in your box, your little kit, your tool kit, you're going to want a couple of lighters because they're going to come in handy tying on stuff. They're going to come in handy if you're using the hot melt glue. And then the other option, if you know you're not going to have to cut your arrows back down and you know they're going to be set, I use epoxy, but that's only when I'm done getting everything set up. I won't epoxy any of my inserts in. I'd rather lose a couple inserts in the target if they pull out with that hot melt glue versus I need to cut the shaft down and they're epoxied in and I can't get the insert out now because the epoxy's holding it in. And if you're going to cut down your shafts to get them better tuned up, if you will, take small pieces, like a 1/4 inch off at a time. Your inserts are actually, what is this? Maybe a little over an inch. Yeah, roughly an inch. So you're not going to want to cut an inch off at a time. That's going to be way too much when you're trying to fine tune, if you will. So again, that's going to be a tool that you're going to want so that you can get your arrows set up, is whether you use the epoxy or whatever. The next thing that you'll probably want to pick up is a bow stringer. You can string a bow without this. You can put it in between your legs, and that's how I was taught when I was a kid. I don't even know that they had bow stringers around when I was a kid, but almost all your manufacturers suggest you use a bow stringer. It's a little bit safer and it's less likely to damage your bow using a bow stringer correctly as opposed to just twisting it through your leg and getting the bow set. The next thing you're going to want is a pair of knocking pliers, and basically you'll have a knock, and I'll show you one of them. It's going to be a little metal brass gizmo about like this, and you'll take your pliers and crimp it onto the string. And what that's going to do, if you'll look here on Angie's bow, we've got a metal one already put on here, and that's going to hold your arrow. I always put my nocking point above the arrow. Some guys put it below, some do both, and it's your call, whatever you want to do. That's just what I've been doing since I was a kid. I put it down below because when you're pulling, I like to put my arrow on, and then when it's on the rest, I know when I come up here and bump it that it's up against it where it's supposed to be, because sometimes you can get a loose string, or after you've been shooting for a while, you're serving and get a little loose and it's not as tight as it should be, and your arrow will be off just a little bit. So I like to bump it up, and then you can draw. So again, that's the nocking point and the nocking pliers. And then next up, I'll show you the bow square, and I'll bring it in close so you can kind of see it. It's just basically, it's got a bunch of numbers on it, so there's 2 useful tools on this, more than just one. But number one, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it with the glare in this little camera, but it's got measurements here, and that's going to show you dead center of the arrow rest. And when I say arrow rest, if you notice, it's got 2 clips down here at the bottom of your bow square that you can put it on your bow, and then you can slide it down where it's barely sitting on the arrow rest. So we got the bow string on here, and then these measurements, I'll bring this up a little bit closer. These measurements right here help you decide, like here's 0, that's straight on. So since we want the nocking point above, it's going to be higher. So you got to add the width of your arrow in there or your nock. So you can see this one is set a little bit higher, probably too high, but that's where it's actually working for my wife. So that's a good starting point. It'll help you find where you need to be, and I think a lot of your bow companies actually recommend 1/2 inch to 5/8 inch higher than dead center. So that's where that's falling in right there. And then we will fine tune that later, move it up or down as necessary. And then I think tool wise, well, that's about it. In your little kit, you might want a pencil or a pen, leave it there handy in case you need to write on your arrows when you're marking them to cut them down. And then probably the next to the last thing that we're going to talk about is bowstring wax. And if you guys remember, when I was showing you Angie's bow, it's a year old, and I said it needs some wax on it. So I'm going to show you real quickly how to use the bowstring wax. Everybody's got their own little personal opinion of it, but I always just set the bow in my lap, and this is just a little tube of bowstring wax. You rub it on, and you can see, I'll show you in this other camera, you see these little hairs right here. I don't know if you can see them or not, but that tells you this string's dry. You can see the little hairs there. So take your bowstring wax, put it on the string, and guys, you can't put too much bowstring wax on it, so don't worry about that. And then after I get it on there, there's 1 of 2 ways you can do this. I can remember when I was a kid, it used to aggravate my mom quite a bit, but I'd always go get some of her wax paper and put it between my fingers and rub it in, and kind of what you're trying to do right here when you're rubbing this on, you're just using the friction of your fingers to kind of melt that wax into the string. And again, for whatever reason, I'm sure I read it in Bowhunter magazine or something, one of those guys was using bowstring wax. That way you didn't have a bunch of wax on your finger and you're getting all the wax off to melt into the string instead of melting into your fingers. But I've found that it's just as quick and easy just to do this right here. And again, this is probably one of the things that guys overlook the most, but it really will. It'll help the life of your bow, just putting a little bit of bowstring wax on it. And you don't have to do it all the time, but I will say this, if you're going to be out hunting in the rain or whatever, or you're going to be out shooting 3D targets in the rain, wax that thing up before you go. It'll help keep your string from getting moisture locked inside of it or inside of it, and it'll just make your string life last quite a bit longer than if you just let it dry out and start. It'll kind of break down on you. So the wax is cheap and a good way to keep your strings lasting a long time. and I like to just get it to where it's kind of sticky. So again guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. That's just a few of the tools. If you guys remember on the first video talking about the bow itself, and we roughly talked about the arrows, we've done another video on arrows and how to do the arrow selection using your Three Rivers archery chart. Print this off guys, leave it in your toolbox or leave it with you so you can kind of study it and look over it. But you've also got shooting gloves. You're going to want to use a arm guard of sorts, and if you're like me, I made this arm guard, and then I also made this shooting tab. This shooting tab I'm really starting to like. I've got a few more that I've been working on, and I'm really enjoying using the shooting tab. For years and years I always used the glove. You can see it has calf hair on it, and that's just something I've used. But again, that's just a couple more tools that kind of go along with your bow. And I think that'll wrap it up guys. I'll put links down below. I'll put a link to the arrows that we're using, the bow stringer, the shooting glove. I don't know if I can find a link for this one, but I'll find one. This is made by a company called Neat, and they make really good archery stuff. If you think you want the glove, a lot of the hunters use the gloves, and more of your target guys shoot the tab. The tabs that I've been making, I find myself shooting a much better group than what I was shooting with the fingers. So I'm almost convinced this is going to be what I hunt with this year. Is I'm going to use some of the tabs that I'm making. I'll make a couple extra and leave them in my backpack. That way if I get out in the woods and I lose it, drop it out of the tree, I've got another one there handy. And then also you want to make sure if you're going to go hunting with it, use one that you've been using. Don't take a brand new one. It's going to shoot probably a hair left or right of what you're used to shooting. So break in a couple of them if you're going to use one for a spare. And then again, real simple stuff guys. Some glue, bow square, knocking pliers, a few of the knocking points, and that's the wax, bow stringer. That's pretty much it. That's all you really need to get started. So again guys, we appreciate you tuning into this video. I hope it's helping, giving you some ideas of how affordable you can get into the sport of archery, whether you want to be a hunter or a 3D shooter or just fun family target practice in the backyard. It's a lot of fun. Angie's never going to hunt, but she enjoys shooting, and it's just kind of a fun family deal we do in the evenings. So again guys, we appreciate your likes, comments, and subscribes. May you have a blessed week, and tune in. If you haven't subscribed, we're going to have another video following this one on how to get into the traditional archery cheap and easy and affordably. So thanks again guys. Give us a big thumbs up, click the bell. Have a blessed week. Bye bye.